Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode about the movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I am joined once again, as per usual, by Mr. Harry Jobson.
Yeah, that was
that's the new thing. Yeah. I mean, as you
well,
say,
no, for
you
this
always
episode.
for this one,
For this
yeah.
episode.
Well, yeah, for every episode, you try to come up with sort of something new to do at like the very beginning of the
I try to make it
episode.
relevant to the episode.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the title somehow and you just somehow are watching this, we are talking about Frankenstein, because this week there is a Guillermo del Toro has made an adaptation of the Frankenstein novel, but it's technically out this week in cinemas, but because it's a Netflix original, it's not like a wide release. So it won't be out properly until like worldwide on Netflix till sometime in November. But I am going to try and see this in the cinema because I imagine it'll just look better on the cinema. Like the new Knives Out film, I'm going to try and see that in the cinema because Netflix shouldn't be putting like Netflix is just shit. I think we can both agree that Netflix.
Fucking hate Netflix. Sorry for the language, but God, I don't like that company. They produce some good things, like good film and stuff, but just the whole concept of like not owning your media, it just cripples me inside, man.
It's just like, not even putting stuff on like physical like just the death of physical media. I will be like,
they are responsible for it. They are.
It is.
Like Disney's not to be exonerated, nor is HBO, Paramount, Hulu, whatever.
Netflix, Disney's really bad for it as well. Yeah,
but Netflix started this.
Yeah, Netflix. I think Netflix becoming popular and being like, it was kind of the only streaming service for a significant period of time. Like it popularized it. You know, like it's basically. Is
it's
there any?
The Spotify of it.
Yeah, and it's like it. You know. And in theory, it's like the idea of Netflix and streaming is like a problem I don't really have, but it's just there's a lot of like fundamental flaws that it has, and that they're not gonna
100%.
They're not really making efforts to change them. Like, oh, this content that we made that's an original for like our service, we can just take that off and just get rid of it. And it's like, what is the point then? Like, if it's not guaranteed to stay there forever, why shouldn't I just pirate it? Like, you know, if they can just get rid of stuff like that, you know, just instantly, it's like, what's the point of this? Like, what is the point of me, you know, streaming stuff if you're not even gonna keep it there forever? Like, it's completely fucking pointless, I think. But that's irrelevant. But yeah, we're talking about Frankenstein because there's a Frankenstein movie, and we were talking like just before we started. We've sort of got a bit of a different. Like, I've seen like a couple different films. You've seen a couple different films, so it's like there's sort of going to be a bit of a variety here.
I don't know if this is really going to follow like a structure,
no,
because I think we're sort of more so talking about Frankenstein as a character, and it's like general story, and we can talk about how each film that we've either seen can sort of adapt or has adapted that. I think we can both agree. It might just spoil it straight off the top, but the 1931 film is by far the best Frankenstein on screen that we've ever seen. We can sort of get into that. It's probably the first one we'll start with.
Yeah, well, do you just want to... Have you read the book?
Nah, but you know, like, I know, like, I get it.
I had to read it for school. It's one of those like classic books you read in school.
Yeah, wait. What year? What year in school did you read that? What, like, was it like year 12 vibes, or was it like year 8, 9?
Let me think.
Because we did like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
No, I never did that. I think we might, like, one class. I think because like for the classes we all had sort of different books. Like I know some classes did like
There's
I just remember there was like I'm trying to remember other there were definitely books and also films. I know there were films that other like I know some classes watched like Dead Poet Society and I didn't watch Dead Poet Society. I think I did a different film that I can't remember.
we did
Um
so I remember major books that we did. We did The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which we ended up watching the film for. We did The Curious
good
Incident of the
film.
Dog in the Nighttime. We
Okay.
did, which was a book. And then more sort of advanced English. We did things that were
Yeah.
like regarded Orwellian. So we did like Brave New World, 1984.
I did do
Um,
1984. Did you do
we did
Animal Farm?
no, we did Blade Runner.
I remember doing Blade Runner, yeah, and I remember doing 1984 as well. But yeah, we never did
We
Animal Farm. But yeah.
No, I never either did Animal Farm. We focused in advanced English more on Shakespeare. So we did like
Yeah, I
Othello,
did.
The Tempest, Macbeth,
Yeah,
all of that good gear,
yeah,
and then a lot of
we did.
T.S. Eliot
Yeah, yeah,
as well.
yeah. No, I definitely we did some Shakespeare, which I'm not a big Shakespeare fan. I don't really. It's just
I like Macbeth, and I liked Othello.
I think there's bits that
thought
I like, but it
Ewan
feels a
McGregor
bit
played a
dated.
phenomenal Iago. But yeah, anyway, we're getting a bit off track. But yeah,
But
Frankenstein
yeah,
is one of those things that you do in high school.
yeah.
It's at least in Australia, it's one of the like either you didn't do it or
Mm.
you did do it, but it's probably pretty well known that a
Yeah.
lot of people
You,
do it.
yeah, you're at least aware. You either know someone who did it or you did it. You know, like you know people who had to cover it for school. I think that I mean I don't really remember the book beyond not being massively impressed. Like it's not. I don't know if I'd say it's a bad book, and I understand the cultural significance. Like it's considered like the first sci-fi book like in history. It's and you know it's very famous and everything, but I don't really. It's not the kind of thing that I'd want to ever reread. Although to be honest, I don't really get a desire to reread books. Like I feel like once I've read a book, I
Yeah,
don't
I've read
do it.
it. Yeah,
Like whereas like a movie or a TV show, I'd be like, oh, I might revisit that one day and watch it again. You know, like I get that.
it is far easier to revisit a film
Yeah.
or series.
Yeah, even video games, I don't actually have a desire to revisit video games that often. Like once I've played it, I'm like, well, I've played it. I don't need to play it again unless it's like, you know, like a game like a like an online game where it's like I'll play that lots and I'll throw you know, or something like Minecraft where there's no real story, but you can just do lots of shit with it. But books, yeah, I just don't get a desire to revisit um books, but to talk about the 1931 film, the classic James Whale Frankenstein. I mean, I like it. I think it's good. Okay, I feel like you're about to
The original 1931.
the original 1931. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great film. No, I
Mm.
agree. I
I,
think the way that they sort of portray Frankenstein is like they set the foundation for a lot of what we know as Frankenstein, right? So Frankenstein is a
mm,
character, and we'll get into sort of Frankenstein is one of those monsters. It fits into that sort of Hotel Transylvania universe of like Dracula, Frankenstein, Sandman, like all of
uh,
these
yeah, Wolfman,
all
like
of
Creature
these,
of the Black
yeah,
Lagoon.
yeah, just like all of these super cliche and now tropey monsters, and they all
Yeah,
had to come and start from somewhere.
yeah,
And to be honest, I think the best adaptation we've ever had of Frankenstein is Kevin James, especially when he turns into like a sexy human. It sets the foundation of like what we know as Frankenstein, right? The shape, the bolt between the neck. Except every other film adaptation that I've seen does not look anything like this Frankenstein. This Frankenstein is very clearly just a man in makeup, but I think
yeah,
it's done really well. I think they sort of portray his character with a little bit of soul. Like he kills, but he almost doesn't mean to, but he does. But so it's like a
mm,
horror, but you also sort of feel for the character as well. Like he never asked to be born, or I
yeah,
guess reborn, and
yeah.
reanimated. I think a lot of the character motivations in the film make sense. It's paced quite well. It looks phenomenal for 1931. I mean,
Oh yeah, no. I
come
will
on.
say you watch older films from like the 30s and stuff, some of like the makeup and effects, they haven't aged like the greatest, but I actually think this one looks very good for the time. I think it has like it's a very simple, I don't know if subtle's the word, but it's not a massively like transformative, like, because the way of how things have evolved, like you look up makeup and your prosthetics and everything nowadays, you can completely change an actor and they can become completely unrecognizable. But there is something very simple with the original makeup, and that's kind of a good thing. I'm kind of okay with that. Because I
Well, and I
haven't
kind
really
of
looked.
it like sort of
Yeah.
iconic this look of like long, tall, rectangle head, certain haircut, bolt through neck, big, broad shoulders, big man. And the other
Mm,
Frankenstein films that you've watched try to go for a way more realistic realism approach, and I think it just ends up looking bad, takes it out of the film, and
mm,
kind of looks just And I've even seen trailers for Del Toro, and
mm.
I'm just like, what do you mean? He looks like I know it's Jacob Elordi for fuck's sake, but
Yeah.
he looks I don't know. It's Morbin time.
Again, there's just something about like classic 1920s, 1930s like monster movies where like they're clearly like the effects are a product of the time, but that's okay, and like they work and they still look good, and they don't. I think nowadays some films try to overcomplicate things or try to show off like the makeup and the prosthetics and the effects. And it's just kind of like we don't have to do that. Like we can do something simple and like do something very very simple with it. And I'm very much the proponent of less is more, and like the simpler the better. Like I do not need
Mm.
everything to be so like, again, I've kind of not really looked at what Jacob Elordi, like I've seen bits of what he looks like as Frankenstein. Um
Do
but
you know it
I'm
was
not
originally supposed to be Andrew Garfield?
that would have been phenomenal. I think Andrew Garfield would have been
I actually argue
outstanding.
otherwise, and we'll get into why when we sort of get to. I'll just talk about it because again, this isn't really following a structure. I'm sick of this. Like, we'll get into that. So,
Yeah,
in one of the films, Robert De Niro plays Frankenstein, and it just takes you out of the entire
oof,
fucking movie because you're just
that
looking
should
at it the whole time, going, "That's De Niro." Like it's Frankenstein, but it's just
right.
clearly De Niro, and he looks good. Like he looks like a good Frankenstein, but he's just too high
Yeah,
profile of an actor to
but it's
play.
right. Okay.
No, sorry, for Frankenstein's monster. I keep saying Frankenstein. Frankenstein's
Yeah,
monster. Um,
I've looked up what De Niro's Frankenstein looked like, and yeah, like it's
it's
a
just De
decent
Niro
makeup
with some
job.
stitches on his face.
Yeah, but it does look a bit like I'd probably be a bit distracted while watching that.
Right? Yeah. It's an interesting well, like sure, fuck it, why not? But I think Andrew Garfield would have been another one of those like well, that's very clearly Andrew Garfield. Jacob Elordi is
Right.
still early enough in his career that he can play a role like this without it
Mm,
being distracting.
mm,
And we'll get into the issues with the fucking Robert De Niro film. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he goes, especially compared to this film one being the first one, but it's also the benchmark. I don't think
yeah.
any Frankenstein film we've had after has really been able to again set pacing and consistent tone is something that this film has. That like the
Mm,
scene with the little girl when he kills the little girl, which like
yes.
learn how to swim if you're going to be that close to water, you fucking idiot. But
Yeah.
also,
Also, it
like,
doesn't look like a particularly deep like pond or whatever he's throwing her into, but
yeah,
it,
and he also didn't. I don't think he meant to kill her. I think he was just sort of trying to
no.
play around and
I
realize
don't.
he
Yeah,
killed
I
her.
think that what makes Frankenstein interesting is he's not a bad person. Like
He's kind
he's
of a
in.
bit of a toddler. He's like a big
Yeah.
toddler because he's just
Mm,
been born again. But like, there's no thought. He can't really speak, and his thoughts aren't really like his thoughts are stitched together, right? He is stitched together.
yeah.
So yeah, it is an incredibly interesting film. I know the final sequence of like them burning down the building, it looks amazing in black and white, and I think it doesn't try to go too deep within the relationships of Victor Frankenstein and his cohorts, which I think like it does a little bit, but it largely focuses on sort of the monster and it wreaking havoc around town and how the townsfolk and their mob with their pitchforks and their torches and him being scared of fire, and I think it works really well. I think the film's paced really well, and it's sort of again, it sets a foundation. It is classic. This is Frankenstein. Like this is what a Frankenstein story is. It's a monster and a mob, really. Like
and I think it works very well. I think there's something very simple but beautifully simple about this. Like it sort of can get into the ethics of like he didn't ask to be born, he didn't ask to be made, and now he's dealing with all the consequences that his creator
I mean that's the biggest sort of conflict in any Frankenstein story is that Frankenstein, the Dr. Frankenstein or whatever the fuck, doesn't ever think about the consequences of his actions of actually reanimating a human body. Like he gets caught up in playing God.
Yeah, he sort of stops to think of. He doesn't stop to think if he should. He's just sort of caught up on the whole. If he could, which he can. And I mean, I like that just out of a concept. I mean, Jurassic Park is a Frankenstein story of a sort. Like it's people basically playing God.
It is relative, but I'd argue, I think you're right, but it's more about like genetic mutation of you are, because like they are playing God, but it's like it's more just like them fucking around with like DNA. This is like a DNA thing rather than like this one literally just goes to the straight up biological. What if we just fucking zap a human body with a lot of electricity?
I mean, there's really not a whole lot to say on this first one, just because like there just isn't a lot. Like it's just like it's just a very solid film. Like you can't really take issue with it, I don't think, in the sense of like solid, and for where it lands in sort of pop culture history, you sort of have to give it some credit just for what it means and for what it did for the genre. And I mean, I would argue that Frankenstein stories are zombie movies to like to a degree.
Extent. I don't know. I feel like, again, in some of them they are, right? Like in the newer ones. In 1931, it is, again, just that classic village. There's a village, and there's a town, and there's a monster, and the town people fighting the monster. That is, and that's good to an extent. I was talking about how I kind of don't really like, again, these sort of, Frankenstein, Dracula, all of these sort of like very campy horror Halloween film trope stories. I think they're just cheap and lazy, to be honest. In the same way that I think princess stories of Brothers Grimm can go that way as well. This film is arguably great. It's a great film. It works really well. I think black and white serves it so much better than color. And I think that if I was to make a Frankenstein film nowadays, I'd make it in black and white. I think it almost needs to be. It needs to be this sort of like the closest thing I think I've found to this sort of feeling would be Tim Burton's, Edward Scissorhands, or the way that he sort of creates that atmosphere of, it's not really a horror, but it's a bit uneasy. It's sort of stitched together. That sort of feeling, the feeling, the environment and the atmosphere that Tim Burton creates with things, again, like Edward Scissorhands or Big Fish or something along those lines. I think that mirrors closely to these earlier horror films like Frankenstein. And sort of that black and white really lends to that. Not that Tim Burton does use black and white, but he really does tend to juxtapose between sort of really poppy color and then incredibly dull monochromatic grays. I'd love to see a breakdown on that, but it would be interesting to sort of
Mm.
see if you were to do a Frankenstein today. I would probably do it in black and white. And I've heard that Del Toro takes a lot of inspiration from the original film, so we'll see how we go. But from what I've seen in the trailer, it looks like a fucking action movie.
Yeah.
It looks like an Avengers movie. Like it's stitched together like an Avengers movie.
I mean, do you want to move on to the next film then, or do you want to put
Yeah,
a
I mean,
rating on
did
it?
you want to give it a rating?
I'd give it a bit. I'd give it an 8, a sort of a low 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair.
Uh,
I'd probably give it close to probably about yeah, 7,
yeah,
strong 7. I think it's great. I think it's not without its faults. I mean, being a film from that time, yeah, it works for what it's going for, and I think that I'm going to be a lot harsher in pretty much every single other Frankenstein film we're going to.
mm.
Although, yeah, okay, well, we can move on. What were you after?
Well, I've seen Bride of Frankenstein, but I don't think you have.
No, I haven't.
I mean, I'll talk about this one. I mean, how do you feel about giving Frankenstein's monster a wife?
Why can't he have a husband, man? It's 2025. Like shit. No, I don't know. Like if we talk about like the ethics of it, I think making Frankenstein's bad, let alone giving Frankenstein's monster a wife. Making the monster in the first place is bad. Let alone
Yeah,
getting him a wife. It just feels a bit like why are they
yeah.
going to root?
It's
Are they going to root and
there's
have a dead
definitely
baby? Can he
there
feel
is
love? Like what are we talking about?
yeah. Does his dick work?
That's a great question. Also, you better hope that you gave him an absolute whopper. Like, if you could design a
Oh,
human, I'm giving him a
yeah.
schlong.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be it'll be the biggest one I can find. I'm not gonna look. He's
Like,
made up of dead bodies. I can help him out in this area. Um.
yeah, a hammer akin to Mjolnir.
Yep, we're talking about Frankenstein's monster's penis.
It's
I
like, but
think
no one else is. Like, what are
no,
we talking?
we need to be the ones. I think that I mean I prefer Bride of Frankenstein to Frankenstein. I think there's a really great section of the film. Well, because spoiler alert, he's not dead. Because you know didn't actually die, but I think there's a really great section of the film where he comes across as like blind man, and there's a really great emotionally poignant sort of section of the film with him and this blind man. Because everyone else they see him and they get fucking like because he's a scary monster, and then the blind man he doesn't see that, he just treats him as a friend, as a just as a regular person, and there's like a very nice about that. Um,
Yeah,
and I think that again, I think like the design of the Bride of Frankenstein is like an iconic design now of like that character. I think again, it's a very simple makeup job, but it does just work. Like it does look very good, and it's just an iconic, like an objectively iconic look and design, and like the hairstyle with like the fucking like lightning or whatever the fuck is in it. Like it's great, and I really like this film. It's Bride of Frankenstein. I would put amongst my favorite films ever. Honestly, I think it's a really really great film. Um, Also, something we haven't talked about with these first couple films is they're like 70 something minutes long, which is just a joy. Like to like because we've talked about before how some films are too long now, and being under 2 hours is a good thing that we wish more films would do, but they don't. I'm just looking here. Bride of Frankenstein is my 84th favorite film of all time, according to my top
really, that's
100.
quite high.
Yeah, it's between number 85, The Dark Knight, um, and
Okay.
83, Day of the Dead, the original 1985.
I don't think I've ever been able to put together a concise top 10, let alone a top.
Yeah,
Like, I
I
just
mean,
can't. My opinion changes so much.
we've talked about. There's an episode we did. last year, maybe year before, where you went through like your top 10 favorite ever films. But I don't. I think you said like this isn't like the most like yeah. You're very
Concise.
like
Yeah.
because it's like this could change like tomorrow, and
Oh,
you know
it
every
kind
now
of
and again I
did.
do go. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at this list now because I mean this is a top 1,000, which is a lot to manage, but I only really focus on like the top 100 or so in terms of like, am I happy with the order of these like 100,
Yeah.
or so.
Do you
More
when
big.
you're doing it? Do you start from number one and work your way up, or do you start from 1,000 and work your way down?
I do sort of general sort of looks at. I'm just like, okay, am I happy with like where these films? Like, I just sort of look at I just sort of have the list up, and I just sort
Yeah.
of scroll down, and I'm like, okay, I'm happy with where that is, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, that should be a bit lower, or that should be a bit higher. Like it's a, but I keep it relatively consistent. I haven't looked at it properly in a while, and there's stuff that I. Also, the problem is some of this stuff I've only seen once, and I would need to revisit it to see if like it still stays where it is, or if I need to move it up or down. Like, there's lots of films that
Yeah.
I've seen that I gave like a 9 or a 10 to that I've seen one time, and I don't know if they like are still that good, and I'd have to like Jaws was one for ages where I had it down as a 10 out of 10, and I hadn't seen it in so long, and I'm like, I don't know if it's still as good. But it is. Go listen to our Jaws episode from a few weeks back. Still think it's a great film. But yeah, I give Bride of Frankenstein a 9 out of 10. I think it's a very good film,
It gets a
and
question mark out of 10 for me.
yeah. And I'm just looking here. It's 1 hour 15 minutes long, so yeah, like 75 minutes, which is just great to watch a film that isn't super long. I'm trying to look at what was like the next Frankenstein movie that came out because they've made fucking shitloads of Franks. Well, there was Son of Frankenstein, which I haven't seen.
I have not seen, no. I've seen the one with Daniel Radcliffe
Yeah, I'm just
and
looking here at the list of feature films where Frankenstein appears. So there's like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. There's like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, which I have seen, which I think is very solid. But he's not like the main character in that because they meet like Dracula and the Wolfman and everything in that film too. Um,
we could
he's
do
in the 1967 Casino Royale, which is interesting. It says he's in Yellow Submarine. That's interesting that he's just in like a Beatles movie. But I think probably the next one that I
would
think
it be
you'll
Mary
see.
Shelley's?
I think so. That's 1994, I think. Let me just get down to yeah,
Oh, is
Mary
this the one that's
Shelley's
directed by Kenneth Branagh? Oh, dude,
yeah,
this one,
Kenneth
Branagh.
Branagh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kenneth
I
Branagh. Yeah.
haven't yes, I have not seen this one, but I don't really like Kenneth Branagh as a filmmaker.
Can I can,
Um
can I spend like 5 minutes on it really quick?
yeah, I don't think I would like it, but I mean, yeah, as considering you've seen it,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm gonna bring the microphone right up to my mouth when I say this, and if there are kids listening, block your ears real quick. This movie's fucking dog shit, dude. It is so bad in the funniest ways. Because like Kenneth Branagh, I do like as I like him in Harry Potter because
I
he's
do
like
like him in that.
because he's low key just playing himself. Because in this film, directed by him, it is produced, I believe, by it's produced by he's knighted. Sorry, it is Francis
Francis
Ford
Ford
Coppola.
Coppola,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and like obviously he's an elite, but Apocalypse Now, Godfather, Dracula. Yeah, he very, very, very clearly had fucking zero input on this film. And calling this Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I've watched a few things about it after I've watched it as well. Apparently, it's got like nothing to do with the book. Like it is one of the least faithful adaptations of a book ever. Kenneth Branagh the whole time has his shirt off as like Victor Frankenstein as he's like making the monster, and then
Jesus Christ, does he look good with his shirt off at least?
yeah, he does. He looks great. But
Okay.
it's not the point. And
No, that's
then
not the point, but
Robert De Niro's Frankenstein is so, and then there's this like weirdly, because you can't figure out the tone. Robert De Niro, and it's not even the tone. But De Niro is clearly the best in this film. De Niro and like I'd argue, like Bonham Carter as well.
Of course, yeah, because she was
Carter,
dating Kenneth Branagh at the time, yeah.
Yeah, and this film is like about it. It's actually really freaky, but we do get a really great moment. So the beef I have with this film is that one, it is incredibly unfaithful to like largely the story of Frankenstein. Kenneth Branagh is so self-conceited in the entire film. He plays like so. De Niro is probably the best performance. He does a really good job as Frankenstein. He sort of plays like a really great.
I can believe De Niro. Like De Niro is a phenomenal actor, so I can always believe he's the best part of any movie he's in. Because
like he plays it incredibly straight, and he does it a really good job. Kenneth Branagh, his character is like supposed to be kind of like heroic the entire time as Victor Frankenstein, but then has like a bit of a breakdown when Frankenstein kills his wife, which is Helena Bonham Carter, and then he reanimates his wife, and she just looks fucked. And that's not like it's a really good job of doing sort of a corpse bride, and then he tries to like dance with her, but she's not really dancing, and then she just goes like, shakes her hand, and then kills herself. And it is actually a really great moment in an otherwise pretty poor film, because that moment, like that tone, should have been kept throughout the whole film. The idea that Kenneth Branagh's character is like sort of this pathetic, like just trying and clinging onto anything, would have been done so well if that was the entire film. But he has to spend it greased up with his shirt off in a hot factory, like in a hot lab, like with like a lot of this film is like filmed at golden hour too. Like it's all just this light that's constantly firelight that's constantly shining on Branagh, and I just think it doesn't like it is so weird. It's such a weird way to do it. Again, Robert De Niro does a fantastic job, but I think this just isn't his role. Like, in the sense that he is too recognizable. Helena Bonham Carter does an amazing job as well, but she plays a pretty unimportant role until the very end when she is restitched together and kills herself, sets herself on fire. But
Jesus Christ.
Other than that, it's like it's a bit of a fucking fever dream of a film, William. I think it's like it's not even that okay. And like it escapes and swears revenge on him and all this sort of shit. And I always thought that was a bit like, I don't know. Either way. It's not my favorite storyline to go with Frankenstein, to be honest. And then everything else outside of that, largely I can't get over just how fucking ridiculous Branagh is in this film. So like it's like a 4. It's like a 4.5.
Oof. Very, very low.
And that's not to discredit De Niro and stuff's performances, but just out of 10, it's just not a good film.
I'm just reading here that apparently Bonham Carter and Kenneth Branagh met while filming Frankenstein, and they began having an affair while Branagh was still married to Emma Thompson.
Yeah, Branagh's a freak. And who's his current spouse? Lindsay Brunnock?
It says he's not Lindsay Brunnock. Yeah.
Man, Emma Thompson's also great. Like, she's great.
Then I'm trying to look at what even else there is.
Oh, there's Victor Frankenstein. Have you seen Victor Frankenstein?
I haven't, but that's the one with Daniel Radcliffe and
it's actually really good.
And James McAvoy. Like, is it Daniel Radcliffe Igor? Isn't that what it is?
He plays Igor, and it's actually the whole film kind of feels like The Prestige. It's got that sort of atmosphere about it. Victor Frankenstein, kind of an awesome film. Like, it sucks, right? And it doesn't like it's not a great film, but Daniel Radcliffe is great in it. There's this weird subplot romance that he has. The Frankenstein, this is again another one of these films where the Frankenstein is like a bald, weird muscle monster freak thing. There's a scene where they animate a chimp and it goes insane. That one's weird. That scene's really freaky.
That is an interesting choice.
Yeah, and they have to like kill the chimp, and he almost dies, and then there's like, and the entire film basically kind of ends with like spoiler alert, but like it's a happy ending. Basically, it's like they eventually end up killing Frankenstein's monster because Daniel Radcliffe stabs it in the heart, and they're like, "Don't forget, it's got two hearts," and so he has to stab it again, which is like just a shit. Anyway, Daniel Radcliffe ends up getting the girl because he plays Eeyore, the hunchback, and then like Victor fixes his hunchback and like makes him hot,
Right.
and like
How is
so
Daniel
then
Radcliffe in it? Like his perform? Because I feel it. Because I
I
like
actually think
Daniel
it's really
Radcliffe
well done.
a lot,
I
but
love Daniel Radcliffe's performance in this.
I don't know if I think he's like a particularly good actor. Like I like him a lot, but I don't know if he's like a particularly strong actor.
I think
Like
he is, and these are my argument. I love Daniel Radcliffe in the sense of I think he is. I think he personally, I believe he's designed for comedy. I think he was
I do
born to
think
do
he works
comedy.
better when he's doing comedic, like his appearance in Extras, the Ricky Gervais show. I think that's really good, actually, a really fun.
He's
Like
also really like he's really fun in Guns Akimbo. Swiss Army Man is something that people always say when you talk about the best Daniel Radcliffe films. Where he plays
I've
like a
not
deaf
seen.
farting dead.
Yeah, I'm aware of his performances in both of those, and I haven't seen them, but I do intend to at least watch Swiss Army Man because I do think
And
it's yeah. Did you see him
the,
in? Did you see the Weird Al movie? I actually thought he did
oh
give a
my
very good.
god, I thought he was phenomenal in Weird Al. I thought
He
he did
did.
such a great
Yeah,
job.
he did give a legitimately very good performance in that film. I'll give him that. Because again, it's
Yeah,
a comedy role, so it allowed him to have more fun with what he was doing. And I think that
but I
yeah,
think yeah, like he's good as a leading man, but I think he's best is when he pops up as sort of a supporting actor. Because
mm,
even in Now You See Me, the sequel to Now You See Me Too, I thought
mm,
he was really like I thought he was great in that. I thought he was like funny, and he plays like a pretty good villain because he's got this sort of like vibe about like this like I don't know. He can just play that character really well. I don't think we can really credit like he does a good job in Harry Potter, but like I don't think we can credit that to his ability of acting. They're just sort of growing up in the role.
yeah,
Um,
that I can it sort of excuse. And also, it's hard to criticize like a child's performance and not sound like a total asshole
Dick,
because it's like
yeah.
because it's like he was like just a he was like
But what
11 when
he's
they started. Yeah.
but in films like Half Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows where he's 17, 18, 19, where you can start to sort of criticize his performance, I think he does a great job. Like I really do. I think he's great in those films. I think in Half Blood Prince specifically there's a sequence where he takes like liquid luck and it's basically like he's high the whole time and it is so
Mm,
fucking funny. It is one
yeah.
of my favorite scenes in the entire series and you go around he's like pincers and he does like the fingers and he's like, well, by all means come along, professor, and I fucking love
Yeah.
it. It's so fun. But yeah, I'm a big Daniel Radcliffe fan in the sense that I kind of just like him,
Yeah,
and
that's how I feel.
I liked seeing him in the film because I knew that it actually does. It's weird when I see him in the film; it takes a little bit of the weight out of it.
Mm,
But I think he did fine. Like he did know it was a fine performance. I think he did the supporting role quite well. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that that like he wasn't going to be the lead. I think James McAvoy plays that sort of almost Sherlock Victor Frankenstein character really well in this.
mm,
It's got that Sherlock Holmes vibe to it as well, where like all of these
mm.
films coming out in like the 2010s where they were all set in like this 1900s and
Yeah, yeah,
they play this sort of like weird sci-fi, not sci-fi. I don't know. It's an interesting film.
yeah.
It's not great. It's arguably pretty bad, but it is.
Mm,
It's kind of fun thing to watch. I think it runs a little long. Like I don't actually
mm.
know the runtime, but it felt a bit long. Actually, if we see them, I might have a quick look on what the runtime was. An hour 50, so almost 2 hours.
Oof,
Yeah,
that is a bit
like
long.
it's a bit. Yeah, it's pretty long, but I think it was fine. Like it was relatively fine. It is not a great film. Like if I was to give it a rating, it's probably about a 4, maybe a 5.
Mm,
Again, I don't think the Frankenstein's Frankenstein films have really done a great job. But this one at least had Daniel Radcliffe, and there were little moments where I thought that's kind of good. I didn't think that the role of Frankenstein. I couldn't even tell you who played him.
Was like
Charles Dance. No, that's
was
Barry.
the makeup in that was the makeup and stuff like good? Did it look like?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I don't like the big muscle monster sort of look. It kind
No,
of just
I like
kind of look,
Frankenstein
yeah,
being like strong, but I don't think I want him to be like to look physically strong.
overpowered.
Yeah, and I don't need to be distracted by him
My
having
idea is that I don't
yeah.
like the sort of the realistic approach they go for. I think he should be wearing his suit and have hair
Mm,
and look kind of just like a big dopey dude. But yeah,
mm,
this one it's like skin coming all off and it's hyper realistic, and I just don't think it really works that well.
mm. No, I get that. I'm just looking at a list of Frankenstein films, and there's one I found called sorry, let me find it, called Fuckenstein,
Yeah,
pornographic parody, and I'm like that. Yeah.
yeah. Can we
Um,
talk
I'm
about
just,
that one? I haven't seen it, but
I haven't seen it either, but I'm
I
just
thought that the
there's
actress was phoning it in.
hmm.
uh,
But there's also like this Frankenweenie, which I've seen and I think is a very solid film, but it's with a dog instead of a human, which is
I'd argue Corpse Bride is a
it's
Frankenstein film.
yeah. I mean, she looks like the bride of Frankenstein. Yeah. Um, there's man, he's in and he's in all like the Hotel Transylvania movies. He's in like the Monsters films and shows. Um, he's in a lot of them. But I mean, we're talking about this to tie into the release of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I mean, do you have any sort of like how do you feel about Guillermo del Toro like just as a filmmaker?
I'm indifferent, to be honest. Like, he doesn't really do films that attracted to, if that makes sense. I think he is sort of considered the god of monsters. I watched his
Hmm,
Hellboy films and I always thought they were a bit fucking freaky.
yeah,
Obviously, like Pan's Labyrinth, but these aren't films that I'm I'm looking for, if that makes sense.
right.
I know he's been. I think he produced one of the Hobbits
Uh,
or one of the Lord of the
yeah.
Rings or something.
He was going to be directing the Hobbit films, but he wasn't able to like figure it out. Like he just couldn't get it done in the time frame that like Warner Brothers wanted him to. So he pulled that. So I think he's like a credited writer or producer on it, but he didn't end up because that's how Peter Jackson got to doing them, and Peter Jackson sort of burnt himself out doing those films.
He did the sequel to Blade as well.
He did, yeah. But I think, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I think this has been like a real passion project for Del Toro for years. Like Del Toro has so many films that he wants to make, and so many films like that he's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm working on this," and then he doesn't. He ends up not making like 90% of them.
Yeah,
So I'm glad this is one of the ones he actually can make because I mean, Del Toro considers this one of the best films of all time. He did the Sight and Sound pop film poll, which is held sort of every 10 years, just like the greatest films of all time. And Del Toro chose Frankenstein as one of his films in 2012. And then in 2022, he chose Bride of Frankenstein instead. So he loves his Frankenstein, loves his Frankenstein
he
stuff. If
loves his.
he's
Yeah, he's the king of monsters.
yeah, it's very clearly like one of the things that he loves and connects to. Like, because all his films have got great creature design, and costumes and makeup and everything. And he's clearly clearly a fan of what it all of that. I'm just looking at like some of the other films he chose. So like in 2012, alongside Frankenstein, he also chose Goodfellas, which is like a valid choice. Everyone likes Goodfellas, which is like the original Nosferatu. Like he chose a lot of stuff. Like most of this list is like between the 1920s and 1940s. There's like Modern Times there. There's the original 1940s Beauty and the Beast. So he likes older black and white cinema, which I don't. Which I think is fair. And then alongside Bride of Frankenstein, he chose like Barry Lyndon, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Goodfellas again, and he chose No Country for Old Men, which is a pretty good choice, I think, as we talked about it a little while ago now. But I think we're well, go listen to the No Country for Old Men episode and see what we think of it.
Yeah, 100%. Do we have much more on?
I'm just looking here because I made a list of my 10 most anticipated films of 2025, and Frankenstein was my second most anticipated film of the year.
Oh wow!
So I don't remember that. It's maybe a bit higher. The film ahead of it isn't actually coming out till 2026, so Frankenstein technically is my most anticipated film of the year. But I mean, anyway, we'll talk about Frankenstein in the review of the year episode. I'm gonna try and see it in the cinema this week because I'd much rather see it in the cinema than on my laptop on Netflix because it just won't look as good.
Yeah, that's completely fair. It is impossibly hard for me to get to a cinema. Our one is reopening soon in Lismore, but that's December.
Yeah.
That'll be for the new Avatar.
You said they're trying to get it open for Avatar, which is gonna unfortunately make so much money, and it just means we're gonna get even like James Cameron is just locked into.
I just don't even like the first one very much, let alone like any. I haven't even seen the second one. I just don't care.
I definitely
fucking Avatar movie.
Oh, dude, it's so. I saw Avatar 2 in the cinema, and look, visually, it's incredible. It looks great. There's no plot, and it's so needlessly long. And the titles, I really don't like the titles they're making. Like Avatar: Fire and Ash, that's just a crap title. That's just a really crap title for a film.
Call it Avatar: The Squeakquel.
That anything, but
Avatar and the Chipmunks.
But we'll talk about Frankenstein in the review of the year. So we'll both have seen it by that point. And Harry, is there any final things you'd like to say before we wrap up? Thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.